Everybody, and welcome to Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Schroeder Nordholt. He is a voice coach and a composer, and in today's episode, we want to talk about finding your true voice, basically finding the truest version of yourself. And I've been looking forward to this talk for a long time because we've had to postpone it a couple of times, but here we are and here's our talk. And welcome, Schroeder. I am very happy that you're joining me for today.
Thank you so much for having me. Likewise, I've been looking forward to this as well for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's lovely to be here, and I'm happy to share what is going to inspire, hopefully, through our conversation. So let's get down to it.
Let's get down to it. So what I'm dying to find out with you is, how did you find your inner voice? Because I don't think you became a voice coach right out of high school, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right. It's been a journey, and you know what? It's an ongoing one.
Mm-hmm.
My journey, it really was birthed, or whatever the word is, out of this need to sing. I don't like to be overly dramatic, but I would get really depressed when I couldn't sing. Like I just was wanting. I should back up a little bit. Like I was brought up playing piano, trained on piano, which I loved and hated at the same time, right?
Yes, everything that you have to do usually also inspires some form of hate, right?
Yeah, there's this like push-pull thing going on, and in fact, it was the only thing I had going into adulthood, like college, like out of high school. It's like, I guess I'll just continue on, because what am I going to do? Be a plumber or something like that? It's my only skill. So thankfully, through the college experience, I did grow to love it again, like in a deeper way. And that's like its own ongoing journey of discovery as well. So back to so along that journey, like along the way, early on, as much as I was learning and loved, and also didn't as much work, the work I was doing on the piano, and learning about music and theory, I loved more than that the sound of the human voice. Like, just, I would love to listen to singers, like singing, like, you know what I mean? I'd put on, my go-to would not be a piano player, it would be a singer, basically. Loved singers.
I love to sing too, so I quite understand.
Yeah. And so I would sing, loved to sing, but would ruin my voice when I did that, because I didn't know how to use my voice. I wasn't trained how to do that. So I'd literally ruin my voice, as in, like, couldn't talk after singing one song. Like, sing one song and, like, now I can't talk. Like, great.
I recognize that. But some songs that are quite at the edge of my range, then you sort of have to force your voice to make the notes, and that always makes me hoarse afterwards. So I'm very careful with those types of songs.
Exactly. It's exactly that. As soon as so I've learned now, so we can go into a little bit of coaching here, but like at the time, exactly, I would literally, ruin my voice. And in doing so, I'd get depressed. Like I would literally, and so I just became aware of this, of like, this is a problem. Like, I'm actually miserable because I can't sing. And so I just set out to solve that. And took courses and studied with the best voice coaches that I could find at the time, in order to learn how can I sing like that person without ruining my voice, like you're talking about, like sing something that is obviously I'm locking up here, and I'm pushing and forcing things, and you start to learn how to use your body in harmony. That's my little joke, with itself. When you use your body in harmony with itself, you learn how to hit those high notes and be able to sing powerfully, and in doing so, the joy and the freedom, and that. So it's amazing. It's just beautiful. It's
I
just a
think I understand a little bit, because what I've noticed with myself is when I am more relaxed, it's easier to hit the high notes. And when I am tense, or when I find it very important what other people think, or there are people there that I sort of want to either impress, or their opinion is important to me, then I get a little bit more stress, and that immediately locks up the voice box.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. It's all about relaxing. It's all about, the best when you're learning is lying down. And you just lie down and you're just like sing the song, and the rule that if you want to gamify it, if the rule of the game is just zero pressure. So you're not allowed to feel any. So as soon as you feel pressure, stop and just go back and try it again with no pressure, even if it sounds weird. Like, so even if it sounds like you don't care about how it sounds, that's another rule. In my world, it's not, you don't care, you have to not care how you sound, which is really hard for a lot of people, because we want to make it sound good. Yeah,
it might sound like you're singing falsely, or you're not hitting the note, and you could become very self-aware.
right. Well, self-aware, so that's, I'm glad, like, that's exactly the result of doing this play, really, like you call it work, but I call it play, like playing with your voice.
Yeah.
Is really about this journey of self-awareness, like this awakening to your deeper self. Like, it's not about it's so it's more about that in my world anyways than it is about how you sound, or any of that stuff. It's really about discovering like the deeper, I call it the truer than true version of you. Because it is in each person. There's more there's more lying dormant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um
You can do more than you're aware of.
right.
And that's basically all what I meant with the self-awareness. The self-awareness I was getting at is the negative kind, where you think, oh my God, and it sounds horrible, and I'm off key, and nobody wants to listen to it. That type of self-awareness. But where you want to move towards, I think, if I'm interpreting your story correctly, is that you become aware of, oh, when I do this, that happens. And when I relax more, I open up more. When I relax more and care less, and even if it comes out crookedly, it makes me feel really nice. And if I pitch my voice a little bit like that and still doesn't hurt, but I hit the note a little bit better, and that you become aware of how that works.
Bingo. Big time bingo. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a gorgeous experience. It's I think everybody should go through it. Like it's whether you want to sing, whether definitely it's not about becoming professional singer. I'm barely like, I'll go out and sing in public, sure, but for my clients and the people I work with, it's way less about that. It's really just about everything you just said, in discovering that deeper part of who you are, like who you are as a person, to bring that to your business for sure, but also to your life. Like a personal story of mine is like my relationship with I've got more like 18 and 21 now, daughters, that we were pretty like not on good terms there for a number of years, and everything shifted when I really started getting into this work. Like I was already singing before that, but like when I started mainly helping others, I became so aware within myself how I'm using my voice all of the time, that it really, I noticed our relationship started healing. And I was like, at the same time, I was like, ooh, that's gotta be, that can't be a coincidence. Like so people respond to the vibration of your voice, which is also your energy, on a deeper level than consciously, on all the levels, whether you're aware of it or not, whether they're aware of it or not. Like how we respond to people is very determined by the vibration of your voice. Like,
Yeah, but also the
oh,
pitch and the energy
totally.
behind it, especially when you're a highly sensitive person like me, and a highly sensitive people. I always say our sensory antenna is much more finely tuned. So we
Mm,
literally hear more and see more, smell more, taste more, but also
right,
feel more. So it's not
right.
just what you're hearing, although we hear more nuances in it. So it becomes easier to hear the nuance between passive aggressive, really aggressive, annoyed, or that types of pitches in somebody's voice. But it's also the energy behind it, because I've had people that were completely miserable on the inside play a role to the outside, looking like happy, carefree, and that's not vibing with each other, because on the lowdown, you're feeling anger and sadness and repression, and what you're seeing is smiley, smiley, positive, happy, lovey-dovey kind of thing. And that doesn't match that energy, but that's also what you can tell by someone's voice.
So that's really interesting. I love that. Like, so are you somebody who, like, are you suggesting that you can kind of see through and see underneath and and feel that they're really like see through the mask pretty much?
Yes,
Wow.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and in the
Yeah.
beginning that was really confusing, because people present themselves in a certain way, and
Right.
it keeps feeling off. I had that feeling like it's just,
Wow.
and in the beginning you don't know what's going on until you either catch them unaware, or maybe you get to know them a little bit better, and they open up and they're sharing their real feelings, and then all of a sudden I thought, that's what I was feeling.
Okay.
That's what I was picking up. And that's what a lot
Interesting.
of highly sensitive people do. We pick it up, especially when we are close to people, but we don't even have to be close to people. We can also pick it up on the phone. And then it's
Right.
really voice, because you're not seeing the other, you're having no visual clues. And then you can just hear the different layers a voice has, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, it does. It does to me. It does to me. 100% it does to me. And it just becomes really apparent then, or like a really important hearing what you're saying. And I know this too, but every people who are listening of like, you might want to like, you might want to like, what am I trying to say? Like blend, like get whole, I guess, get whole
Now you
with
want to
yourself.
become aware of what you're unconsciously sending out, be it with
Exactly.
unconscious energy, unconscious voice pitches, which is also a form of energy, but then in the voice, or with even facial expressions that you're not aware of that you're making, that send a certain message that might not be in line with the words that you choose as the message that vocally comes out. And a lot of people are not aware of these things, but also a lot of people are not aware that they can pick up on these signals. And so that can cause confusion on both sides. I can imagine the person that thinks that they are a master at hiding their emotions for the sake of the children, thinks that he's getting away with it, and that he's masterfully showing them the most positive side, because he cares for his child or children, and they don't want to burden them with the problems that might be in the family or something. Could be a situation, I can imagine. But the children, they pick up on it anyway. And then
Right.
they become confused, right? Because what daddy is saying is not matching what we're feeling. And
Right.
when we get confused, we don't know how to act, and we can respond in a variety of ways. We can become rebellious, or we can withdraw, or we can become angry, or we can respond to the subtle undercurrent. And if you're not aware that the subtle undercurrent is seeping through, and the other person is responding to your subtle undercurrent that you're not aware of, that you're leaking, then the
Right.
situation can become quite unpleasant for
Yeah.
both very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's really crucial to become I feel like we're talking about being authentic
Yes.
and becoming in alignment. Uh, yeah. And really working through, yeah. Yeah. So you can, I guess, deal with the, so like I've had a lot of clients, not a lot, but I have had clients tell me like, you've saved me. So like, I'm just a voice coach, I thought, right? I thought I'm just, whereas where I've had people say like, you've saved me thousands in therapy, as in working through some of my issues, but like without having to work on the issues. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
playing with your voice in all different ways and opening up and learning technique. And in doing that, all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but like within a, short time, unravels issues, like without having to deal with that issue and that issue, that just kind of like float away. It's like, wow. So there's a freedom there, and an alignment. Yeah.
A lot of things. I also do a lot of inner child work when I'm working with people, getting them back to their authentic self. And in a way, that's what you're doing with the voice, right? Because
exactly.
If you had certain experiences as a child, that they can be traumatic, but they don't have to be. And what's traumatic is also different for each individual. But if you are not letting your inner child out to play because you always felt like you were very serious or responsible or needed to be, then that, I can imagine, could cause a throat to close up and the voice not to come out. And when you work on loosening that up, maybe you're also loosening up the thing that's keeping your inner child stuck. So your more playful side can come out, which can do a whole bunch of things.
You're hitting so many nails on so many heads. Well, and I like one of my little sayings is like, we get silly to get serious results.
Yes.
When we, like it's play with your voice, and the results are quite serious, like this, because what you're talking about. And I mean, even when you think about like how many people were told, as kids, like children should be seen and not heard. That's a classic.
Yes.
So like right there, your voice is being stifled, just from a young age, and then that just becomes your norm.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, children quickly adapt. So if you
Right.
are always supposed to be quiet, or if you are being taught that you should never speak up, that you should take things in silence and just bottle them up inside, then that cannot not have an effect on how you express yourself, which is a big role of the voice.
Yeah, that's my story for sure. That's how I grew up, and that's where I had to face that reality of, or and just kind of like really wake up to that and move beyond it and become
Did you
conscious of
always
it.
know you wanted to become a business owner, or that you wanted to do something with music or voice when you were growing up?
Sorry, say that again. Did I want to?
Did you always knew you wanted to become a business owner, or that you wanted to do something with voice or music when you grew up?
Definitely not voice, because that's something for me that came through, like I went through my own journey as a young 20s, probably most of my 20s, of like trying to figure out how do I use this thing properly, and how do I sing without hurting my voice and all that. That was quite a long, and it's still ongoing. Like I'm still learning. Like it's, anyways. But growing up, no, and I didn't know I wanted to do anything business related with music either. It was just something that I knew how to do. I think it came more out of necessity. It's like, oh my God, I'm an adult. I better figure this out. I better figure out how to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, right? So it's like, so I did a lot of gigs, like playing in piano bars, and teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I teach kids. I've taught kids. In fact, I'm at school right now. That's where I'm at school.
Awesome.
Um,
Yes.
so I teach kids music. I've taught kids music forever, or 20 years. Out of, to answer your question, like not, I didn't want to. It wasn't something I grew up like, oh, I want to teach. But it's something that I've grown to love. As much as the music itself. I love it. I love teaching, especially, I don't know, it's just wonderful to watch kids play music. Okay. And like learn how to play music.
Yes.
Amazing.
Expressing themselves, because both music making as well as singing is a form of self-expression, a form of expressing your inner feelings. And we talked about it before we started to record, that My favorite music is actually also instrumental music where the instruments tell a story. But I
Right.
also, and I didn't tell you that, I also really love those groups that can sing a cappella,
Yeah.
and especially the ones that are like an entire orchestra. And where you have the bass line and the hi-hat, and they can do everything with their voice. It's
Yeah.
so impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. There's a bunch of groups. Voces 8, they're out of England, I think, and a whole bunch, tons of a cappella groups. I'm actually starting one here in this coming May, just locally. Um, Super excited about that for kids and adults as well, like just different age groups of, yeah. So a cappella. I've got
Very cool.
arrangements of Beatles songs and Queen and just different songs broken into 3-part arrangements. I can't
Mhm.
wait. Oh my God.
I love it.
Makes me so
It's
excited.
a shame you're at the other side of the pond, and otherwise I would definitely have come and visit.
You'd sign up. But
Yes.
it's, yeah, no, it's really it's really magical to watch. Like I know that, like, and it's subtle, but like the role that I've played in people's lives is transformational on a you it's a funny thing because you'd never know how somebody's life would have gone, like it's the whole sliding doors
Hmm.
effect, right? Like if they'd never been my student, how their life would have, but I do know that, like, um, people's lives have changed as a
Hmm.
result of studying music and working with me and playing. And it didn't need to be me, just a music teacher of that can put that positive path in front of them. And
Yes. Or
yeah,
help them
it's
to
it's
open up.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
How,
yeah.
how did you then move from being a teacher for children and playing piano in a piano bar into also working with entrepreneurs? Or is it also
Um,
entrepreneurs that you voice coach? I made an
so it's
assumption.
yeah, entrepreneurs, professional speakers, presenters, business leaders, like team leaders that have to use their voice and get their message across in a uh, amiable, like, a nice but authoritative, like have authority.
Mhm.
Um, that was all because of COVID, actually, because when COVID came along, it wiped out my teaching business.
Yes.
So at that point, it was more of a pivot. Like everyone had to pivot, and it was a sort of a, what am I going to do? It was two parts. Um, what can I do online that can be of service? And um, it was, and what do I like to do more? And it's the voice is what I love to do the most. Um, of all the teaching that I do, because it's so, everything we're talking about, the transformation, the finding the true version of you, just the energy and the joy that comes from using your voice, just watching that happen, I love the most. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm gonna do, and what's the easiest to do? Not the easiest to do, but like, how am I going to teach kids online? It just seemed so hard to imagine, like, no, put your finger over there on Zoom,
That
like
is
on
a
Zoom, like, no,
whole
no, no, no,
different
it's
enchilada
one,
than adults.
it's just, yeah. So how do you, whereas voice, it's like, we're just here on Zoom, and it's like, okay, here we are, we're gonna like open up this way and like do the exercises, and that it's easy, and it is easy to do on Zoom. So voice, um, and so is COVID, to answer your question, is how, and I'm so grateful because it has opened up an entirely different and wonderful career path
Mhm.
that is having impact in a whole other realm with entrepreneurs and speakers and business leaders, and I've even worked with politicians that have to deliver speeches, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
And I can
yeah.
imagine that because especially as a speaker, or when you need to give presentations or workshops, your voice is a very powerful tool that most people underestimate.
Everyone else, everyone underestimates it. They don't know. They don't realize. And like, to our point, to bring your point from before, the energy. Yeah, people are not aware. So not only, you know what I mean, like not only projecting, like if you have to speak to a big room full of people, even if you have a microphone or whatever, but just using your voice as an instrument, people are not aware of that
No.
because they think of it's either separate, like singing. or speaking
Mhm.
is two separate worlds. Whereas for me and any good voice coach, it's the same thing. When we're right now using our voice, it's an instrument. You're using your instrument right now. I'm
Yeah,
using my instrument right now. And so getting people to make that connection so that when they
definitely.
present, it's like, yeah,
I think we all know examples of that. I've watched a lot of TED Talks on YouTube, and when
cool.
you're listening to someone who talks like this in this monotone voice that constantly goes like this and it never really changes and it stays flat like that, you're
Yeah,
bored in seconds,
I'm going to
right?
sleep. Yeah.
But when you are the best TED Talks I've seen were people who were engaging and who used their voice to tell a story that either conveyed that there's something exciting coming or that they bring you to a height. And then it's this huge realization and then the relief that came in, and then use their voice in a completely different way, which makes a completely different listening experience.
Right. Exactly. I get people to like consider the like that, and of it's kind of a performance. Like it is a performance. It really is. Like when you boil it down, if you're getting up in front of people, you are performing.
Mhm.
And so and so yeah, do you want to be that monotone, or do you want to do everything that you just described and demonstrated very beautifully, by the way, very, very well done. Yes. Have you taken voice coaching, Barbara?
No, never. I have to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. But it's this idea to become more animated. So it's helping people that are maybe monotone, or they're aware that they are more reserved and they need to come out of their shell. So I use a lot of acting techniques. So because it's kind of theater, like life is but a stage,
Mhm.
like life is but a stage, So there's
Exactly.
this element of acting in even in real life, like right now, like I'm being the character that is me. It's
Mhm.
genuine, but it is a version of like it. We're all different versions of ourselves, no matter where we show up,
Yeah.
and it's just the way it is.
So
So if you can
I
bring
had
the
this
best
thought.
version of your,
Sorry.
go ahead. Yeah,
I
go
had
ahead.
this thought coming to me when you were talking about this, and I was like, this can also be maybe really beneficial for the more introverted person,
Yeah,
where they can maybe
exactly.
tap into a hidden part of themselves and feel more confident, or maybe can even project a confident or more confident version of themselves when they're speaking. Could that be one of the
Oh
ways in
yeah,
which you help people?
yeah. And again, that's part of my journey as well. Like I'm predominantly introverted, and so I use my own stuff, my own, in order to come out and be out in the world and out in online like this or whatever, just like
Hmm.
100%, 100%. Because if you're shy or introverted and you're like, like you're only going to let this much of yourself show up or whatever, but it's like, yeah, so let's get the full version of you. Because and introverts tend to be not, I don't want to say more like, but they do have like everybody has lots to bring to the world.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say that they have more to bring to the world than extroverts, but they definitely are sitting on a lot of gold that
Yes.
is like it, yeah, and it needs to, and and so yeah,
Hidden
to
potential.
bring hidden potential, that it's like let's bring that out, let's shine a light on that and get used to shining a light on that. Yeah, so I
Yes.
work a lot on that of like, here we are, I'm going to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit in a safe way. Like it's a safe, one of my main things is a safe, creating a safe space, because it can, especially for introverts or people who aren't used to using their voice in a new way. It can be very vulnerable, and it can be very not scary, but kind of scary, because it's like, oh, I'm so not used to this or whatever. So
Yeah.
I set an environment where it's going to get them out of that. They want it. They want to. That's why they're working with me.
Mhm.
So I do it in a way that is, safe, but it is
Exactly.
pushing you to go out of what you're. And then so yeah, so I get people to do crazy things in order, so that then when it's just showing up somewhere, that's no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's no, oh, just show up for an interview. Oh, no problem. I was doing some really weird stuff like 5 minutes ago with Schroeder.
Exactly.
Like,
This is
yeah,
peanuts.
this is
Yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So What would be a tip that you could already give the people that are watching and are listening to this episode today, if they want to open up already a little bit by themselves before reaching out to you, let's say? What could they
Yeah.
already do?
That's such a loaded question. There's so many things. But they can definitely breathe. Like I notice a lot of people don't breathe properly. And so really, like I have a whole technique. We don't have enough time right now to teach it, but really all it is making sure you're breathing into your belly, right into your belly, and then holding on to that, while not holding on to it, but letting it out slowly while you talk, like using it as so I'm doing it right now. I've got lots of air, lots of air, lots of air to support my voice as I talk, as opposed to what I see, and we've all seen this, like, especially when people get nervous, it's the opposite. It's like they breathe out and then I'm going to go to talk now. And my voice is like, obviously, and I'm already out of air. Like, so breathing, so just big breaths.
Yeah, I love it. It's actually one of the first things that I teach people also that come with me or that come to work with me is to breathe from the belly, because most people breathe from the
belly.
chest.
Most people,
And have a very
that's like
shallow.
that's the sort of the fight or flight. It's like the scared kind of like
Exactly, the fight or flight response, everything
anxiety.
exactly up here. So I can imagine that people that are watching and listening here today are also very intrigued with everything that you've been sharing with us. And I can also imagine that they would like to know more or would like to be able to contact you. So where could people find more about you or contact you best?
Well, and I want to give more, like I would want to give more than just the breath is like the first thing. So so I have a PDF that walks you through a whole bunch of things that you can just do on your own. So can we give that link?
Yes, most
Because
definitely.
it's I call it the 10-minute warm. It's like a 10-minute, like, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll find your voice starts to wake up. So I think that's like very valuable, if we can put
That
that
will be
link there.
awesome. I'll make sure that the link is included in the show notes of this episode.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has the breath, that it has the step-by-step how to get I call it the slow leak. So the technique. And then it has a bunch of other warm-ups that are professional, that used in the acting and the singing world for getting your voice to really be bigger, be
I love it.
more alive,
Yes. Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's that. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that the link is in the show notes of this episode. So if you're listening and you think, oh, I'd love to have that, go to the show notes, look at this
Please do.
episode and download your copy and start working with it already. Do you also have like a website or Facebook page or something where people can reach out to you?
Yes and yes. Yeah, I have a website and a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page.
Perfect. Then I'll make sure those are in the show notes as well.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yes.
It's been wonderful.
Really enjoyed our talk. It was really fun.
Likewise, very fun and very deep.
Yeah,
I haven't
right?
had a conversation like this for a long time. We hit on some pretty deep topics here today.
Definitely, but the breath, especially when you're breathing from the belly, you're breathing towards your power core. So
Totally.
the breath goes deep. It goes deep inside yourself. So I'm very glad that we got to explore that a little bit today.
I call it the power breath. Like, and you hold on, like it's not that you hold on to it, but it is your power. So to your point, you breathe it in and there's your power. Like, now what do you want to express? Like, and you've got this reservoir or this the holding tank.
Yeah.
That's just ready to, wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Schroeder, and for everything that you've been sharing. Thank you for watching, for listening, for being here, and for supporting this show. I would love it if you would like it. If you have comments or questions, just post them below the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and maybe even reshare this episode if you think that it might be interesting or beneficial to someone that you know. That will be amazing too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And until next time.
Bye.
Bye.